Hey everybody, Jake Newton here, CPPS, and we're diving into our second overall video of a travel risk management series. The first video diving into the deep content. The first one was an introductory video kind of overarching all of these different considerations we're going to talk about. But we're going to dive into a segment from a full presentation I gave talking about all of the different components of the travel risk management system. As you know, a system has a lot of variables in it and a lot of different pieces that need to come together to make this thing work. And so we talk through what this can look like for you and give you hopefully some different tools that you can leverage in your day-to-day TRM program. And so we're going to drop into another video here in a minute so you can kind of look at the deeper parts of the preparation aspect of travel risk management, and then we'll close it out after that. Enjoy.
The first significant piece of this is preparation. Preparation, as you can imagine, has everything to do with building the travel program. It's formulating the program. So if you kind of think back to that pyramid I showed you, this is a different way of looking at it. This is the plans, the policies, and the procedures. We'll talk about education and training, and we'll talk about equipment and technology as well. But those are the first three things we need to start looking at through this lens, and they all affect the three different levels of stakeholders that you can see on the right-hand side of the screen there. We want to build up and equip each level of these individual capabilities or departments within an organization or the individual traveler, what have you, and make sure that this is all a synchronized process. So largely this becomes accomplished by a policy. So the policy is the strategic aim, and it's the commitment to safe travel. It's the commitment to mitigating travel-related risk. This is going to outline how we identify the level of risk associated with certain countries or regions, if there's specific approvals that are required to go to certain locations. Are we talking about PTO or as the industry likes to call it, bleisure sometimes, addressing insurance, addressing multiple travelers on one vessel or plane or train, whatever it might be, the reporting or escalation process. These are all things we want to start addressing with the policy so that we can have the absolute foundation of where we're trying to go and what we're trying to accomplish within our travel risk management policy, or program rather. Beyond that, here at the center, we often do, in addition to the policy, we'll advocate for what we call a governance or an implementation plan. But when we get beyond the policy, we like to say a policy, you want it to be lean and mean. Because it is so strategic in its nature. But the implementation plan might dive into more of these issues at a deeper length. So we're talking about how often do we need to train people to make sure that they're able to adequately accomplish what they're expected to do. Any standard operations procedures needed to fulfill the program. If an incident occurs, maybe it doesn't rise up to the level of a crisis, but if somebody has lost luggage, if they get sick overseas, or if they're on their trip and something happens, how are we going to work through that process? All of these different things are what we want to have on that plan. In particular, the roles and responsibilities to manage the travel risk program. We want to see some multidisciplinary involvement to accomplish these different things because it is, again, there's so many variables involved. We want to make sure each of these different considerations are addressed. And then, of course, the crisis management plan, again, as we go up to that next level, we're talking about organizational leadership here. We want to be able to have a plan to facilitate those things that do get to that level. We're talking largely about people-related issues here because we're talking about business travel. So are we preparing for potential terror? Are we preparing for natural disasters as it relates to business travel? All of these different things, and having that crisis management team prepared and equipped to deal with these issues. So that's kind of three documents that we would generally have as the core of this program, equipping organizational leadership, cross-functional teams, which might manage the day-to-day of this process, and then, of course, the traveler. The traveler is so critical to the travel risk management process because the traveler is the one out there experiencing these different issues. They're the one in the middle of the thick, and they're the ones that need to be able to unlock these resources, understand what their roles are, understand where to go, what to do. The traveler is so important with all of these different things. It revolves around them in so many ways. When we're talking about education and training, well, we've got our policy. We want to make sure our travelers, of course, are aware of the policy and the procedures that help them accomplish the business's or the organization's goals. That's why they're traveling in the first place. So we want to give awareness training for every single traveler to make sure that they know basic safety and security protocols, how they can manage or mitigate or avoid risk while they're traveling, give them the tools to understand who to contact if there's something happening, any other relevant procedures that they're going to be needing to be mindful of during their trip. But it's key for travelers that we make training risk-based. So you might have folks going to pretty low level risk or within your risk tolerance. We want to make sure that all of these folks get traveler training. However, as risk increases, we also want to increase the focus and increase the emphasis on the traveler that is going to high-risk destinations, or maybe they're a high-risk traveler. Maybe they have to withhold or maintain sensitive information. Maybe they're an executive or a very high-level individual, and they need to have that increased protection because they're in the public eye, whatever that might be. We want to increase that training for those individuals to make sure that they're adequately prepared for the risks they're going to be experiencing. As we go over to the cross-functional teams, we've talked a little bit about this, but think about the people that are managing the program on a day-to-day basis. This might be the travel manager, some security folks, maybe somebody in HR. These folks that are dealing with maintaining the competency or maintaining the travel program and keeping it moving forward, we want to make sure that they can do this well. We want to make sure they're communicating and making sure that there is that ability for that input and that smooth operation between these various departments. There's been several iterations, and this is just a common challenge with these kinds of programs, is there's can be a breakdown in communication, and then the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And so that cross-functional team is so important to be able to have that interoperability and that teamwork to make sure that this is effective, because there's a lot going on. And then as we scale up the ladder, so to speak, when we're talking about organizational leadership or something that's got the potential to really impact a brand or impact an organization financially, if there's a traveler issue or an emergency, maybe something like the Arab Springs from several years ago, whatever it might be, and it gets that crisis level, then ensuring that the crisis management team is equipped to handle these different things, manage the situation, recover from it, so on and so forth. The last big piece of preparation is the equipment and technology. So there's a lot of different vendors and capabilities out there, but are we thinking through what's going to best support our travel risk management program? So is there a risk and intelligence portal? There's a lot of them out there that we can leverage to be able to adequately inform our travelers, make sure that we're staying informed as well. How are we going to communicate with our travelers? Do we need to get satellite phones? Are they legal? Is there different things maybe that we can use to communicate with folks if their phone dies? Are we thinking through these different things and having this built into our policies and plans so that we can make sure this is all a smooth process? Again, thinking through all of these variables. Insurance for cost containment. Is there protective equipment we might be able to provide or tell travelers to have with them? Maybe it's something as simple as a flashlight. They're going to be working in the dark routinely, so we want to make sure that if they're going to be alone or whatever it might be, they've got something that they can just have some better visibility. And then again, booking tools is a big piece of this. This might dovetail into travel assistance providers, or this might dovetail into several other different things. But there's a lot of capabilities that stem from the traveler's information getting into a system. And a lot of times these booking tools can have several moving parts in and of themselves. So when we're getting a traveler prepared for their trip, a lot of times there's been issues before where we've seen that they circumvent the booking tool and now they have an issue, but they're not in the system, so nobody knows about it. All of these different things are supportive of a program, and formulating and identifying how these all fit within the program in the forefront is going to help set us up for success. And that's why these are all preparation issues. This is the very first thing we want to look at, probably something we want to think about annually or build in a regular process to be able to prepare for all of these different considerations. And again, all of this is designed, all of these different capabilities are to amplify the awareness and increase the preparation of the organization's leadership, like the crisis management team, the cross-functional teams, and specifically the traveler. All of these different things need to be working together. They can't be in stovepipes. It has to be a smooth process for all of this to be effective.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that video segment. If you have any questions, reach out to us with anything that you have, and we'd love to answer those and be a resource for you. Of course, leave your comments below, and thanks for watching.